All right, everyone, going to be jumping into the week 5 core plays here on DraftKings. So to me, this week we actually have some decisions as to what we want to do at the quarterback position. The previous slates, it was kind of easy. We were just able to pay down, find that easy value, and just roll from there and make the best builds possible from there. Right now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult in week 5 because we really do have 3 stud options on the top end. You could easily roll with Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be in a very appealing game going against that Minnesota Vikings defense. I expect him to go out and have his best game of the season thus far, and obviously he's put up 25 DraftKings points against Chicago and Jacksonville, so that'd probably be around 30 points there is what we're hoping for. Then you got Jalen Hurts going against the Rams. I do expect him to go out and have a really good game as well. Maybe not as big of a game as Patrick Mahomes, but still a very solid game. To me, he's kind of the forgotten man in between Mahomes and Jackson, just because Jackson, man, he looked so good last week. And now you could argue maybe gets a little bit of a better matchup going against Pittsburgh as well. If he's going to be rushing the football kind of as well as he has been thus far this season, we'd love to see that. And with Mark Andrews back, healthy, ready to go, I think we're going to continue to see him play extremely well like he has the past 2 weeks. For some reason, that just seems to be a thing for him. He needs to have Mark Andrews healthy and good to go, kind of like Patrick Mahomes. But we don't need to play those two because, we have someone in Anthony Richardson who also gets a very good matchup going against the Tennessee Titans. Now, we know that the Titans are actually kind of good at stopping the run. I'm actually curious as to how that will correlate to stopping Anthony Richardson rushing the football. And also there's the whole Jonathan Taylor stuff as well. How much is he going to change the role? Like, he's going to be a much better runner than Zach Moss. We know all that stuff. I do like Anthony Richardson a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense to pay up for him. If you look at his points per quarter or whatever like that, he's the second best quarterback on the season as well. If you just take his rushing stats, I saw something like he's the 23rd best running back as well. So crazy stuff there for him. He's been really good. But for me, I have been starting my builds out with paying down and just going with Zach Wilson in that really good matchup against the Denver Broncos. We saw that is just a very good matchup that you want to go ahead and attack. And maybe we're putting a little bit of too much trust in Nathaniel Hackett here. And I don't love the whole narrative that's going on between, Hackett, Sean Payton, just kind of it has weird vibes to me. I don't know about you guys, but that game kind of just has weird vibes. At the same time, the Jets are going to want to go out and play well and just shut up Sean Payton. There's going to be extra motivation there. And just given how I say this, but with his throws, Zach Wilson has looked sharp. We saw that against KC, and I'm like, thank goodness you didn't make me look like a complete idiot when I was saying that stuff. So I do expect him to go out and have a good game. Now, will he be the highest scorer on the slate quarterback wise? No, we know that. Can he be maybe the 7th highest scorer? Yeah, I think so. And so for now, I am starting on my builds with him, but that just brings up a whole nother issue that I see on the slate. Let's just go to the Jets in general, because we have 3 other players that are going to be in phenomenal spot. Number 1 is going to be Breece Hall, the running back. Now, I worry that he's going to be too high owned given the news that he is not going to be limited anymore. And I feel like I kind of want to call that out by looking at his 2022 stats. He did have 3 games in which you could argue he wasn't limited and he really went off in those games. Okay. And so that would be true. If that happens, he's going to go out and dominate. And he's at such a cheap price tag. The reason the Jets are all going to be so cheap is because they were in a primetime game and they didn't adjust for how good the team looked as a whole, so the pricing's all going to be very cheap for them. I do really like the idea of playing Breece Hall, but there's 2 other running backs that I value a little bit higher than him. We're going to put him in there for now, but I don't want to overload too much on the Jets. That feels a little bit too risky. Garrett Wilson, though, to me is going to be an easy click. I thought in the second half against New England, they kind of found something that did carry over into the next week against KC, where you saw a lot of just manufactured touches getting to Garrett Wilson. And really, they kind of just figured out you need to get Zach Wilson some easy throws early. And how do you do that? You get that to Garrett Wilson. Why was Justin Fields kind of successful? I shouldn't say kind of. He was successful, but DJ Moore carried the game on Thursday Night Football. Both quarterbacks are in similar situations where the offensive coordinator kind of failed them with their play calls, where need to get them some easy throws early to their best player. Let those best players build confidence with the quarterback. And I think the Jets are going to do that again. And then lastly, Tyler Conklin. Given his price tag, he almost feels like a lineup lock, okay? And I want to call out, Zach Wilson was the quarterback last year for the Jets. Tyler Conklin was a thing, tight end-wise, okay? He kind of fell off once they stopped giving Zach Wilson the work. So given the fact that we have seen that happen again through, let's just say, 3 straight games of Zach Wilson starting and having a game plan designed for Zach Wilson at the quarterback. 6 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets. You know, a pretty good average there as well, especially considering this price tag. Like, that is a very good play there as well. So we have 4 very easy jet players to play, but at the same time, we don't really want to be playing all 4 of them, right? That's the difficult part. Let's go into my favorite running back plays. So running back wise, I do think we're just going to be paying up for Robinson. Everyone's doing that. He's the highest owned player as I am recording this video, as he should be. He gets a great matchup going against Houston, a team that everyone has been able to run the football against. Considering how bad Desmond Ridder has been thus far in his career, but he's had one like good game. Like, we know, everyone knows what the Falcons are going to try to do. They're going to run it, and they're going to try to give Robinson the ball. The thing is, teams haven't really been able to stop the run, and we don't expect Houston to be able to do that. It should be an easy click. It should be a player that's going to give us around 18 opportunities. The one worry that we have, I would say, is the fact that only 1 touchdown in the season thus far. Tyler Algier, still probably going to be more of the short yardage back there. That's a little bit of a worry. Still, he's getting used so much in the passing game that kind of negates that. And then from there, the other running back that I feel like is kind of obvious is going to be David Montgomery. Now, I do worry that he is also going to be a little bit too high owned, but at the same time, that game against Green Bay was on Thursday night. A lot of people just kind of forget about it. There is some weird like primetime bias though. And we're not expecting him to get 32 carries, but heck, he was well on his way to getting over 20 in week 2. And so I think we're expecting 20 opportunities out of him in this matchup against Carolina. That is awesome. My biggest worry with him is that he still is a little bit touchdown dependent. Now, I bring up Thursday Night Football as an example. Everyone thought Washington was going to win. Vegas had them favored to win by 6 points. Thus, Brian Robinson was a very good play on everyone's projections because game script wise, that would favor him a little bit more. I'm not saying Carolina is going to do what Chicago did, but that stuff can happen. And it's just like, I don't love going all in on a running back that is too touchdown dependent if a game doesn't go the way we all are expecting. That's the only pause that we have. I still think it's the correct play. I wish he was getting involved a little bit more in the passing game because he's such a good blocker as well. It is the correct play, I would say, but it wouldn't be shocking as well if he ends up maybe in 9 points. I think Alexander Madison last week is a perfect example of that, guys. Alexander Madison was a phenomenal play. Same matchup. Didn't get a touchdown. He only ended up with 9.6 points. Missed out on the 100-yard bonus by 3 points. Had an awesome day. It just didn't show up DFS-wise necessarily. That could very well happen with David Montgomery as well. That's my worry. But they are going to be without St. Brown. I don't know if that helps or hurts David Montgomery. I think that's a very good thought process. Like, does that hurt or help him? Because now Carolina will be able to sell out on the run a little bit more. They're already pretty decent at stopping tight ends. It's an interesting thought process. And the thing with Jared Goff is if his first read's not there and you kind of make him work for it, he's not exactly the best quarterback in that sense, like Jimmy G. When you get them moving in the pocket, when you give them a little bit of pressure, they start to make some mistakes. So maybe that does occur. At receiver, I do feel like it's very easy. I'm so mad about Robinson. He's gained too much ownership. I mentioned on my first video right before the Monday Night Football game, I'm like, just have a good game. Don't have an eye-popping game. And with how bad the Giants were, he was like the one player that stood out and that one player that was kind of getting a lot of hype. And so it sucks that he's going to get that ownership, but it's just the correct play. He ended up playing in over 60% of the snaps last week, 6 targets, 9.7 DraftKings points. I kind of expect him to get maybe 70 or 80% of the snaps now. It's a phenomenal matchup against Miami. It's just very hard to imagine at least not hurting your lineup. Will he be in the GPP winning lineup? Maybe. It's such a cheap price that it could happen, but he's a play that really shouldn't hurt you. It's just, this is the correct play on paper. From there, it is a little bit of a toss-up. I've been defaulting to Tyreek Hill. I think he's kind of the best option on the slate, but we could easily fit in Justin Jefferson there as well. And by all means, if you guys want to roll with that, go ahead and do it. Like, just because the matchup maybe on paper isn't as good as people see. They see that red 9th and they get scared. No, Justin Jefferson's still going to be a good play. But I want to talk about some sneaky plays that I think we have available on this slate. And the first one is going to be Marquise Brown. Like, a lot of people are going to be hyping up Michael Wilson at his 3.7 price tag. And I'm not saying that's wrong. He is going to be a good value. But Marquise Brown, man, he just looks super good. And he's looked good like the last 3 weeks as well. And the thing with it is, like, maybe this is their easy. I know the Giants defense is pretty poor now. But maybe this, and Washington looked terrible last week as well. But maybe this is, like, let's just say his best match over the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, he's went for 16.6, 17.7. Like, I don't think that's really anything crazy. Like, he has looked that good. Joshua Dobbs has looked that good as well. this could very well end up happening again, where he gives us a solid 3x return. And at 5K, that's just such a cheap price tag. It feels like a little bit of a misprice there. And I do want to mention just one other tight end play, Washington, for Pittsburgh. He's the minimum price. He's most likely going to be their starting tight end for Pittsburgh, with Pat Freiermuth being out. If we need to dip into the value range, I'm fine with that, but I do feel like Conklin's going to be the much better play. But if we're trying to fit Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill into our builds, this is one avenue that we can go. Obviously, we don't like playing Giants D. We'd probably have to make some sort of slight adjustment here, but overall, this is a pretty solid build. And let's just say you guys do this build, like you're just looking at the Giants D to give 0. Like I do think they're going to struggle. Just don't get 0. And I want to call out too, a lot of people are going to be going in on the Miami running backs. I still think Mostert's going to be the starting running back. I don't think he lost that role. I will say Achane did start in the second half, though, after Mostert fumbled it twice. I would say neither of those plays make sense in cash. GPP-wise, maybe you want to set a rule to have at least one of them in your builds because it is another good matchup for them as well, and it should be a positive game script for them as well. That's more GPP. I'm looking more at like cash and core plays, safe plays that are going to reward you guys. So that's going to be all for the core plays video. If you guys want access to some NFL DFS tools, head over to 9to5sports.com. It is available for just $10 a month, gives you access to the NFL DFS lineup optimizer. And also, I've got props content out there for PrizePicks and Underdog. If you guys are interested in that, click the link in the description below. That's going to be all for this video. Thanks for watching. And as always, let's keep cashing.